Now, there's always something going on in the royal household, and this week has been no different. And each Saturday I love to give you a rundown, and who'd better to do so than royal biographer Angela Levin. Angela, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, there is a lot to talk about. So what should we start with? Should we go with Prince Harry and Meghan, seeing as they're on their security detail in Colombia, the drug capital of the world, I think it is, or is that Scotland?
I think we should. What is extraordinary, there are hundreds of things that are extraordinary, but what is really extraordinary is all the things they hated doing, they are now doing. And they're doing it with a smile, and they want to do it better than anybody else. You know, you start there, that's where you end as well, because you think this is phony. This is all to say, I can do better than you can, but actually they can't. Very interestingly, that the Vice President, Francia Marquez, she saw Meghan and Harry on Netflix when they did the six episodes. No, that was a slip of the tongue.
It was a Freudian slip.
Yes, 6 hours of it, which it nearly killed me because I had to watch it. It was so boring, it was so difficult. She fell in love with Meghan and thought, this is wonderful, I must meet the woman. So Harry, very little interest in him. So he was standing in the back. He didn't speak or understand Spanish. He could just say, what is your name? How old are you? Which is... at least he tried a bit. So it was so unfair. It was so negative, I thought. So I went back, actually, and looked at the 6 episodes. And this was the one where Meghan mimics the Queen, which I think she lost a lot of followers on that. And she bent over and she said
Did the fake curtsy. Yeah, that wasn't
curtsy.
very nice.
Yeah. But... she was teaching little girls there to do curtsies for her because she is a princess. And so those little kids were trying to learn how to do...
Is that what she was doing in Colombia?
Yes.
Teaching the kids how to curtsy?
Yes.
When yet she had mocked the curtsy?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
Terrible.
I thought, I couldn't believe that. And I checked that was in... shocking.
She says they don't want to be royal, but they do want to be treated as though they are royal.
Yes, that's right. Well, Meghan does anyway. I think Harry looks so miserable and unhappy.
Meghan Markle has done it again, and this time, royal insiders are calling it dangerous. In what's being described as a calculated swipe, Meghan's latest move isn't just stirring headlines, it's intentionally upsetting the royal family. But why would she risk escalating tensions at this stage? This story comes as royal relations remain on shaky ground. After months of public silence, Meghan's actions are being interpreted as a deliberate provocation, not a coincidence. As we break this down, pay close attention to the timing, the messaging, and the reaction it sparked behind palace walls. The video begins by detailing Meghan's most recent public remarks and appearances. Analysts point out that her choice of words, subtle jabs, and carefully framed narratives appear designed to reopen old wounds. This isn't a misstep, it's strategy. A bold, risky strategy. Inside Buckingham Palace, sources describe the reaction as icy. Senior aides reportedly view Meghan's actions as a direct challenge to the institution. There's talk of frustration building not because of what was said, but because of how deliberately it was timed. It's a poke at the royal image when it's most vulnerable. This is where Meghan's approach becomes clear. She controls her narrative through selective media engagement, interviews, and symbolism. Each message lands like a carefully aimed shot. It positions her as the outspoken outsider and paints the monarchy as cold and outdated.
This one, I thought he looked very happy. In fact, to me, they looked very happy. And I'm happy that they're happy. But the point that we make is that stop slagging off your family and stop taking advantage of the royal titles. That's what we're all after. We don't care. Do what you like, but, don't use the royal name.
No, they had the opportunity. The Queen wished them very well. The late Queen wished them very well. They should go away and have a lifetime. Yeah. But Meghan is very resentful, and she's going to go on and on and on until she sorts it out. But what was also silly is that they were telling us how to think, how to behave, which was also a nonsense, You must behave perfect. You have to... What was this one? What people are acting on information that isn't true.
Oh, well, yes, I heard that bit about it. Yes.
That's one of their things, that they don't actually tell the truth about many things, I've found. And what they're doing is actually
they might argue that it's their truth, which is what has come out of it, even though there were 17 clear inconsistencies in the Oprah interview.
19
Was
there
it
were.
19?
Yes, there we are.
Two more. I missed two.
But you can't actually go around telling everybody else what to do if you're not doing it. I just don't think. I think that's a nonsense, and I think that this is very much to upset the royal family even more because of the danger and also any arrangements they might do, any promises to do a deal with them, or to make sure that they become more familiar with us, or with sort of changing the way that the royal family works for their way. And I think, and I hope, that the royal family who are in Scotland have a big think about this, because I think it affects the royal family very seriously. And if they're going to go to a country, every 2 to 3 weeks and build up something against the royal...
Yes, the royal family needs to be wary of that.
They should really definitely be wary of it.
Would you say that there needs to be sort of a motion towards... I know that the King and Queen can't do it, but there should be some sort of motion towards removing their titles so they can no longer trade with them. Like, if they want to do royal so-called faux tours around the world, that's up to them, do what you like. But to do it on the back of being royalty when you have stepped back from the very thing that you're doing... it's very disingenuous.
Yes, I mean, this is a parliamentary thing to do. The King can't do it.
It could be done.
Yes, it can be done, but they can't take away Prince. They can take away Dutch and Duchess, but they can't take Prince because he was born a prince.
Yeah, but
you can't take that away.
I'm sure you can.
Well, I've been told you can't be. But if... Otherwise, Meghan also gets called princess, and I don't actually think many of us want that. But I think they've got to do something now, because it's coming to a spot that is dangerous.
Well, Parliament make the laws, so you could make a law. And the King, obviously, the bills go to the King in the end, so they could change the law. They could change the law and they could do it. So I don't buy into the fact that they couldn't do this. They could if they wanted to, they don't want to.
Yes, I think they might be very nervous about what Harry and Meghan can write, and Harry will do part 2 of his book, and Meghan is threatening that she will do her book and she will hold nothing back. And although a lot of it won't be believed and it won't be true, it might be their truth, I think it will cause a tremendous turnaround that will be very, very difficult. I mean, it's awful to have a child like that who wants to go off the rails in such a way. He's nearly 40 and he actually complains about not speaking to his daddy, and that sort of childish thing of stamping and having a little, scream at his family and blaming William.
Screams at them, but we do know that he was looking for an apology when, in many's view, he was the one that needed to give it.
That's why insiders call it dangerous. It's not just talk, it's image warfare. The public reaction has been explosive. Supporters praise Meghan for speaking her truth, but critics accuse her of fanning the flames of division for personal gain. Social media erupted within hours, with hashtags and debates trending globally. Once again, Meghan's actions dominate the narrative on her terms. The timing is crucial. With the royal family facing its own internal challenges, Meghan's swipe shifts attention, destabilizes the image of unity, and reasserts her relevance in global media. But this kind of maneuver comes with serious risks. It deepens mistrust, especially with key royals like Prince William and King Charles. Insiders say the danger lies in escalation. Every public jab pushes reconciliation further out of reach. And the more Meghan positions herself against the monarchy, the harder it becomes to return, politically, personally, and reputationally. She's playing a high-stakes game with the world watching. So what's the endgame here? Is Meghan intentionally sabotaging any chance of peace, or is this just her way of reclaiming control over her story? Either way, this latest move has shaken the palace and reignited a royal.
Well, yes, of course he does. But no, he has been shouting. I know he has been shouting at his father because they've been waiting for an apology to Meghan. And that's one of the reasons, not the only reason. Now it is because King Charles is having treatments and he's got to be calm and quiet. But he has been screaming at his father.
And you know this?
I do know this. I do know this, yes. And you don't want to hear that every time that somebody comes up. And actually, it's squashed into 20 minutes or 10 minutes, and then he's off. So if you really, really want to do this, I think you come for 2 weeks and you talk about everything slowly, quietly, and with understanding where the other one comes from. Yeah. But he doesn't do that. He wants it now. He turns up. Anyway, the other thing, Meghan did quite a bit of Spanish, by the way, yes. Mm. She could understand quite a lot. She was chatting away at some of them, so that's very good. The Duchess of Edinburgh had gone there last year, and she went, and it was a very good tour. It wasn't dangerous. It wasn't dangerous at that time, and she was working with women in conflict, and the British Embassy helped her at the request of the Commonwealth Development Office, and that all went very well. They've got no one helping them. They've got no idea, nobody. So that it's going to blow up, I think.
Do you think in their faces? I mean, look, they've got some bulletproof briefcases, though, to help them, because the place is quite dangerous.
And 14 cars that take them to and from.
It just seems, you know, if you're going to complain about all of that, then perhaps you should go somewhere that's a little bit safer. You're going to be worried about your broad protection. But Angela Evan, thank you very much. We'll be discussing that in our Great British Debate next. It's time for our second Great British Debate this hour. I'm asking, should Prince Harry be given royal protection, the special royal protection? He and Meghan, with their security detail, they're using bulletproof briefcases to protect them from potential shooters during their 4-day trip in Colombia. That doesn't sound overtly safe, frankly. But at least they've taken part in an art session and planted trees during a visit to a school in the capital, Bogota. I suppose, how did they get there? Private jet? On a Bombardier, probably the most polluting aircraft to mankind. But do extreme security measures create more panic? So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, what do you think? Should they be given royal protection? Joining me now, political commentator Lee Harris and former Labour Defence Minister Ivor Captain. I know this will be a subject close to your heart.
It is close to my heart. Actually, just to... When William and Harry were at a college... I was the minister responsible for them whilst I was at the Ministry of Defence.
Really?
And so on one occasion, and this is a great occasion actually, I get a phone call from a well-known newspaper, shall we say, let's call it something like The Sun, and what happened is they wanted to know why we hadn't put stuff around the whole of the college so that the two of them could be protected.
No.
And I said, are you really going to publish this? I challenged them to publish it, and they never did.
Oh, they never did?
They never did. But that's an absolute truth.
Wow.
And it happened all those years ago, so it doesn't really matter. But it was a moment of just understanding that you don't have to do that just because it's the royal family. You want them to have as much of a normal time in college as you can get. And what happens now, I think they'll be perfectly safe in Colombia.
Of course they will, yeah.
You know, there's no doubt about that. And we've used proper circumstances over the years for making sure everyone is safe.
So does Prince Harry have a point? Should he get this RAVIC protection, which is only meant for working royals? I mean, you know, if you step back, you have to acknowledge that is part of the deal. Surely part of the things that he's done himself have made him a target. Nobody's revealed a kill count. Nobody told him to do that. Nobody told him to talk about these things.
No. I think that... I don't think Harry is under any sort of pressures in the context. I think that, you know, the royal family is the royal family, and we want to make sure the royal family are safe and sound whenever they're doing things. I personally would like to see Harry and Meghan come back and be part of, you know, King Charles's, you know, dealing with all the issues that are there. There are lots and lots of times when people want the royal family to do something and we don't have the actual capability to do it all. So that would be another pair of hands on deck that would be very good, and I think that would be a good thing for Harry and Meghan to do.
Well, they're worried about their security. That's why they've gone to America, where people have the right to bear arms. Lee Harris.
I I think he's a whinging, conniving hypocrite, Hannah.
He would argue that he is not whingy or conniving. A hypocrite may be.
Well, look, I do have sympathy for obviously what happened to his mum and his experience with the press. I think all of us, anyone with a conscience, can understand that. But what I can't get, I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago I was on this show and we were discussing the same thing, and I suggested that by him saying that he wasn't going to bring his grandchildren over to see King Charles, that was some form of emotional blackmail, which I do believe, that's just my opinion, and I believe that's what happened. And I feel like my opinion's been kind of vindicated by the fact that he's in Colombia and he was able to pay for, I'm assuming he's paying for his own security.
I don't know who's paying for it. We don't know the
It's
detail.
an assumption. I'm sure King Charles isn't paying for it.
He may not have paid for it. They may have, because I think he was invited, so they would have pulled out all the stock.
It would be the government of Colombia who are dealing with this matter.
But he's
that's
prepared
for them to do.
to go to Colombia, and yet he won't come to this country because he feels that it's he needs the security. And let's not forget, it was his decision. He knew exactly what he was getting into. He knew what would happen if he stepped away from royal duties. This was something that wasn't a surprise. So him sort of coming back and was it a court case that he tried to take them to court?
He lost.
But dude,
He lost.
Exactly, and understandably so, because he literally he knew what that decision would result in, and so I find the whole thing completely ludicrous and hypocritical.